Ah yes, the Demoknight. Hate him or love him, this subclass is optimal for players wanting a more in-your-face offensive approach. I find the Demoknight really enjoyable in the pub setting, but a lot of players seem to water down the subclass into the simple smash and slash tactic. And while that's certainly at its core, the variety of Demoknight swords and shields leaves a lot of room for players to pick and choose different playstyles, pushing the subclass away from the one-dimensionality and supposed weakness that a lot of naysayers place on it. I believe playing Demoknight has a lot of different aspects and options that are often overlooked because of this, and there are a lot of different ways to make it more dynamic, so much so that it makes it a fun and viable subclass in pubs. So here's why. Players often simplify the Demoknight as a pick class, even in pubs. You run in, you get one kill, and then you die. In an attempt to show off the versatility that the Demoknight can have in pubs, we need to introduce the two things that Demoknight is really good at when it comes to a melee-only class: survivability and utility. And the variety of sword and shield combinations places you on different spots in a spectrum that spans between the two. You can either be incredibly resilient, relying on a larger health pool and raw power to brute force your way into the enemy lines, or you can be a highly maneuverable menace, relying on movement and timing to land your blows. Most players I run across place themselves in the maximum survivability category, often neglecting the benefits that other sword and shield combinations have in favor of the more popular loadouts, but more on this in a little bit. So let's take a look at a few sword and shield combinations, starting at one end of the Demoknight spectrum and moving to the other, so as to highlight the other options that players have and often overlook when it comes to playing the Scottish swordsman. Alright, let's start off with the maximum survivability category. So say hello to your good old friend, the most popular of the Demoknight loadouts, the classic Booties, Charge and Targe, and Eyelander. This loadout guarantees maximum survivability to the player if you do it right. Your base health with this combination starts off exactly the same as stock, at 175 thanks to the health effects from the Booties and the Eyelander. But this loadout can potentially grant you a maximum health pool of 235, granted you take 4 heads, since each kill from the Eyelander gives you an additional 15 points to your base health and, oh yeah, a roughly 8% increase in your base movement speed, but 4 by 15 plus 175 is 235. However, if we take the Charge and Targe's resistances into effect, which inflates your health pool against fire and explosive damage, we get a maximum health pool of 470 health against fire and 300 against explosions. That's a lot of damage that you can take. That's a really bad joke, I'm sorry. The Eyelander charge loadout turns the player into a melee juggernaut, allowing them to soak up a lot of damage so they can fly into enemy lines, slam into their target without having to worry too much about having any tact in their approach. The drawback to this loadout is its ramp up. You become more tanky and deadly the longer you are alive, so this loadout takes a little bit of practice to exploit your maximum potential, but once you learn how to get those 4 heads, you're really a force to be reckoned with and frankly a nuisance to the enemy team, and that's the whole point of Demoknight. Alright, so let's move on towards the right in our Demoknight spectrum onto a less nuanced version of the high survivability loadout. The Booties, the Charge and Targe, and the Half Satoichi. Players may want to opt for this simple survivability loadout if they're concerned about not being that effective in the long term, or if they're concerned about landing kills quickly when they're in the fray. Your base health starts off at 200, so with the Targe, your health pool against fire and blast damage are quite large, at 400 and 285 respectively. The Half Satoichi also gives you 100 health back per kill, or more specifically 50% of your base health back on kill, so it's a lot more forgiving than the Eyelander's health bonus ramp up. So if you find yourself in the meat of things for too long and still manage to get the kill, that extra 100 health can mean the difference between dying and then bailing out as soon as possible. The major upside to this loadout is the larger starting health pool. This makes the loadout much more forgiving in the short term. So similar to the Eyelander loadout, you still have considerable leeway with your positioning and approach when charging into the enemy lines. It takes 2 heads with the Eyelander to make it better than the half Zatoichi, so if you find yourself unable to stay alive long enough to get more than 2 kills, or if you're just starting out with Demoknight, then this is likely the friendliest loadout to start out with. The only major drawback is that you get one shot by other people using the half Zatoichi, so watch out. Okay, this next loadout puts us at the middle of the road in our Demoknight spectrum, the dead center between survivability and maneuverability. The booties, the Splendid Screen, and the Persian Persuader. This loadout is for players that want to be more mobile, but who also don't really want to strategize their charges that much. The main reasons being the health boost from the booties and the 20% fire and blast resistances from the Splendid Screen still offer high health pools against both damage types, both of which are at 250 HP. These health pools are smaller than those gained from the Charge and Targe, especially in terms of fire resistance, but the attributes from the Splendid Screen and the Persian Persuader more than make up for this with a significant boost in maneuverability. With the Persian Persuader, you can pick up ammo to refill your shield charge, with small ammo packs refilling about 30% of your charge meter, medium packs refilling about 70%, and large packs refilling about 90%. Combined with the additional 20% charge refill per melee kill, and the 50% faster recharge granted by the Splendid Screen, you can charge way more often. This increased frequency of charges allows for Demoknights to get in and out of the fray a lot more frequently and efficiently, and the added mobility allows for them to avoid directed focus fire for longer periods of time. And you have an increased shield damage with the Splendid Screen, which, by the way, does 70% more damage than your other options. This loadout is likely the best one that can be used for someone playing full Demoknight. Yeah, it's a really good loadout. Alright, we're nearing the end here, and we're entering the territory of tact over tanking. For Demoknights looking for solid picks over greater distances, go for the booties, the Splendid Screen, and the Claymore. The half-second increase in charge time allows for players to target key opponents like medics or annoying snipers from greater distances. This slightly decent turning ability with the booties also allows for you to take large turns around blind corners without sacrificing your guaranteed crit to the Tide Turner. And when paired with the increased shield bash damage from the Splendid Screen, you can wreak havoc on lighter classes, and the same longevity stipulation applies here as well with the increased shield bash damage. You can long distance snipe anyone, even heavies, so long as they don't turn around and look at you. This is because your health pool is far lower when you're using the Claymore. That 15% damage vulnerability is a major hit to your base health, especially against bullets. Your 200 HP shrinks to a measly 170 against bullets, which is less than stock demo. The added resistances against fire and blast damage from the Splendid Screen help mitigate this somewhat, but you still only get a 5% buff against each damage type, since the game calculates the 15% weakness as additive with the 20% resistances. As such, players need to have a little more strategy with their play rather than just running in recklessly. Alright, this is the end. We've come to the final loadout at the far right side of our spectrum. It's maximum mobility. The booties, the Tide Turner, and the Claymore or the Persian Persuader, it's kind of your pick. For Demoknights that want to cut sharp corners and be a nuisance to the entire enemy team in CQC, just go with this loadout. The full turning capability that's granted by the Tide Turner paired with longer charges from the Claymore allows for crazy long distance charges onto lighter classes, and the 25% charge granted back per kill is a nice bonus. Or, if you opt to use the Persian Persuader, you can get your charge back with melee hits or by picking up ammo packs. But the major upside to using this loadout is by combining either of these swords' recharge abilities with the Tide Turner's ability of plus 75% recharge on melee kill. This means instant shield recharge. So Demoknights can chain multiple charges together by picking off lighter classes in a rapid burst of movement that can catch unaware players off guard. And no worries about diving into the fray either. This loadout has no real benefits with longevity, which this loadout doesn't really seem to support, since you essentially only have a straight debuff against bullets when you're using the Claymore, only 170 HP against bullets or 200 HP against the other damage types, again because of the additive nature of resistances and vulnerabilities, or only a 15% resistance against fire and blast damage with the Persian Persuader, giving you a health pool of 235 for each damage type. This loadout supports well-timed bursts of intense movement, allowing for quick get-in and get-out attacks on a single target, or a rapid attack against multiple lighter classes that will more than likely end with your own death, but hey, chaining charges together is wicked fun. The element of surprise is on your side with this loadout, since you can take blind corners with ease. Also trimping, that's a thing. So, that's it. There are a lot of combinations of melee and shield for the Demoknight, but these are the best 5 to start experimenting with if you're just getting started out with learning the subclass. Try them out. Each is fun in their own way and offers a lot of different play styles in pubs. Increase the audience interaction, they say. What is your favorite loadout to use? My personal favorite is the Claymore and the Splendid Screen, mainly because I can pick off people from halfway across the map. And that's all I got, so cue the outro. Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Cock back, click clack, I bleed black. Yeah, cock back, click clack, I bleed black. Yeah, hasta la vista, baby. Yeah.
If you need heals, come over to the window. Oh my god! You suck!
What?